And Thomas Vasquez Rivera from Puerto Rico. The timekeeper, Mr. Nick White from London. Ladies and gentlemen, National Promotions are proud to present a contest of 12 3-minute rounds to decide the WBO Super Bantamweight Championship of the World. Between, in the blue corner, the challenger wearing green trunks, the former flyweight and bantamweight champion of the world from Croydon, Duke McKenzie. And in the red corner, wearing the black trunks, the champion, super bantamweight champion of the world from Corpus Christi, Texas, Jesse Benavides. At the weigh-in today, Benavides scaled 8 stone, 9 pounds, 10 ounces. McKenzie, 8 stone, 8.5.
So referee Mariano Soto gives the fighters their final instructions. McKenzie, 1.5 pounds inside the 8 stone, 10 pounds limit. And at the first weigh-in this morning, Benavides was over, went away and came back and then made the weight. So 12 rounds for this WBO Super Bantamweight title. Duke McKenzie starting very much here as the outsider, particularly after that damaging defeat against Rafael Del Valle. And tactically here, McKenzie will, we think, have to box on the outside, using his jab, using his boxing skills, try to prevent Benavides from getting inside and doing his best work. But Benavides, having said that, is what's known as a box fighter in the trade, a man who can get inside, and he's beaten 4 world champions. Having said that, so's McKenzie in his time.
Well, Duke got the height and the reach, and really he's got to use it. He's got to get into this fight, he's got to settle down, and it'll start to get a little easier. But already Benavides is bending on them legs. He's looking like he's trying to load up already. That's a sort of where I was just going to say that McKenzie's got to do. He's using that fast left jab just to try and keep Benavides off balance.
I was going to say, Glenn, one of the problems, of course, for McKenzie is how much psychological damage has been done by that defeat against Del Valle.
Well, I think it'll be in his mind a little bit early in the fight, but he's got to try and get out of his mind, and the longer the fight goes, the better he'll get into it. He's just keeping his head down a little bit, Duke, there, as he dips in. He just looks like he hasn't got his eyes on Benavides.
Benavides, you'll notice, boxing out of the southpaw style. Good work there from McKenzie. That was a little sample of the super show that he put on against Gabi Canizales when he almost had a shutout, one from start to finish that night. But I think, to be honest with you, Benavides is a much different proposition to Canizales, who, it has to be said, was just starting to slide at that time.
Yes, McKenzie was in great form that night, and he's going to have to repeat it if he's going to pull a win over Benavides. But his jab's landing nice. He's just got to keep sticking it out.
Always been a very neat boxer, Duke McKenzie. His career has tended to have little spells where it's gone arid, and then there have been peaks. There's when he beat Rolando Bohol to become the champion at flyweight, and then Canizales at bantam. This is his 8th world title fight. He knows what it's all about at this level, does McKenzie. It's a good left there from Benavides.
Good right hand from Duke McKenzie there.
Benavides crowding him quite effectively there and cutting down the range, which is what he needs to do.
Benavides finished that round well. He just started to get right in the distance and landed a few big shots. But Duke looked nice when he stood up right and got his left jab working. at times now, I think he dipped his head very low. That was a good right hand there from Duke.
Not an awful lot in that round, really, was there?
No, it was a close round. Duke had the better work with the jab. Benavides had some good work at the end when he started to crowd Duke.
Jesse Benavides from Corpus Christi. His local newspaper have been on the phone, the Corpus Christi Caller Times, asking to send back reports for their morning editions tomorrow. The trainer is Tony Ayala Sr. from the Kronk Gym, the southern section of the famous Kronk Gym. Jesse Benavides, the only white world champion that establishment has yet produced. Benavides is quite deceptive with that long looping left that he throws out of the southpaw stance from time to time.
Yes, he looks like he prefers hooks with both hands coming in at awkward angles. So Duke's got to keep his chin out the way of them. Duke looks best when he's using that left jab in rapid succession.
McKenzie wants, if he can, to try and keep the fight at range. He's a tall boxer at these lighter weights. Benavides pretty busy, though.
Yes, he's keeping the pressure on McKenzie. Keeps landing with some good shots. But again, Benavides comes straight after him. Doesn't give him a moment of rest.
Of course, one of the questions after that Del Valle defeat for McKenzie was that the beginning of the end for him, or was it just a blip? Were there other reasons behind it? The camp say that he had some medication for a cold before that fight, and I think that somehow may have weakened him, but I don't know, camps say all sorts of things to explain away defeats, don't they?
Sure, it's hard to tell. But again, it's very easy to have an off night. Maybe that was just one for Duke. He's getting warned off the ref, McKenzie, again for dipping that head a bit too low.
Benavides has done more work in this round, I think. Coming forward all the time. Benavides is not known as a murderous puncher, but a useful one. And he can box a bit too.
He gets better shots through, McKenzie, when he does try and keep it at range and box, when he uses the jab and throws his shots behind the jab. When he dips into Benavides, Benavides lands the better shots.
McKenzie's finding it hard to be as dominant in this round as he was in that fight against Canizales when he won the title. Jesse Benavides, I think he won that second round. Would you agree with that, Glenn?
Yes, he won that round. Just by the pressure. It's going to be interesting now. We've got judges at the fight just to see how they're going to mark it. You know, when we've got a classic style of boxer and the fighter. But I think Benavides had more of the aggression there.
He's a student of sports journalism, and he's apparently a pretty good photographer as well. Working away at a little nick there, by the look of it, by the left eye.
That's right, just on the top of the eye. It didn't seem to bleed very much. I never noticed it during the round.
10 seconds.
Well, of course, in his last fight, he did cut. It was a technical draw against Efrain Pintor, the brother of Lupe Pintor. And that fight had to be stopped because Benavides was cut. It was scored a technical draw, so I'm just wondering whether there is a bit of scar tissue around from that. It'll be interesting to see whether cuts is going to be a factor in this fight. I would say McKenzie needs all the little psychological help he can get, and if seeing a cut on Benavides' face is part of that, well, so be it.
That's right, little things like that will rub away them bad memories. And also, you know, now as the rounds start to move on, he'll get a little bit more confidence.
Duke McKenzie has been a marvellous servant, of course, a former British and European champion as well. 10 years as a professional boxer. And good aggression from McKenzie. This is a good piece of work from him.
Some good shots by McKenzie there.
And that just shook Benavides out of his stride for a moment. Now, can McKenzie build on that little initiative?
Yes, it was noticeable when McKenzie did open up that Benavides just shut up shop a little bit. He didn't throw much back in retaliation.
McKenzie, of course, has home advantage as well. Good right uppercut from him, too. This is good stuff from McKenzie in the third round.
There's a nice lively round from McKenzie. Scored with some accurate shots. Nice right hand, some good crisp jabs.
McKenzie, who's never made a fortune out of boxing, he's been a painter and decorator, he's worked in the Nestle chocolate factory, he's had to earn every penny. And he's giving it everything he's got in this round. And now Benavides starting to unload himself.
Yes, I think at the beginning of that exchange, Benavides caught McKenzie with a good shot. And he senses that, and he's pouring it on now.
Benavides could be naturally the stronger man at this weight. Natural super bantamweight, where, of course, Duke McKenzie is coming up through the lighter weights into this division. Benavides has come back well in the last minute or so of the round.
That's what Duke needs to do. When Benavides has a good spell, Duke needs to come back with a good spell of his own, so Benavides doesn't get that upper hand.
Three rounds gone then, and Jesse Benavides came back well in that round and probably did enough just to square it off.
Yes, I think he might have just nicked it. He did some good work at the end. Nice left hook there, which sent Duke back onto the ropes and covering up. That's when Benavides had a very good spell there for about 30 seconds.
He was a really good amateur as well, Benavides. There's a scorecard so far. Benavides, I have him a point ahead, and Gary scoring him by 2 rounds ahead.
Seventh round, round 4.
Gary Mason's scorecard that was. He has Benavides leading by 2 points. McKenzie, I think, certainly felt the weight of 1 or 2 of Benavides' punches in that last round. Benavides has beaten some good men like Greg Richardson and Jesus Salud, the former world champion, Calvin Seabrooks, and Orlando Fernandez, from whom he won this title. This is his 2nd defense of it.
He's struggling a little bit, Benavides, to get past Duke's long jab. He has an exceptional reach. And it's just giving Benavides a few problems.
It's good right from McKenzie. But he's finding this southpaw stance and this quite awkward style of Benavides, quite difficult to cope with. He's cagey. He's never quite there to be nailed, and he throws punches from unusual little angles, doesn't he?
Yes, lots of them are up the middle or around the sides, which are hard shots to defend against.
Good left hook from Benavides as McKenzie tried to close the range on him a little. Fourth round, due to go 12 for the WBO Super Bantamweight Championship. It's a good right uppercut from McKenzie, but Benavides won't let the initiative slip. Back he comes.
He's landed some good single shots, McKenzie. Missed there with a wild left hook.
I think the quality shots, or more of them anyway, are coming from the Texan.
Yes, I would like to see Duke not get involved in so much of the rough stuff and use that jab a little more. But obviously, he must begin to start to feel a little bit confident in there with him.
It's a good left on the counter again from Benavides. Now goes to end the fourth round, and McKenzie with some work to do. Come back to the Lewisham Theatre. 4 rounds gone in this world title fight. Gary Mason has Benavides 3 points ahead. I'm seeing it there, as you can see on the left, 2 points ahead to Benavides. And I think Glenn McCrory's scorecard is telling a very similar story. This is the fifth. Benavides just tending to fight in spurts a little.
Yes, my score's a little more even than that. I think Duke isn't doing so badly at this stage of the fight. And I think this will be good for his confidence. He's managing to give Benavides certain difficulties and problems.
Yeah, if he is losing the rounds, and I think he is, it's not by a lot.
No, they're very close. And he is sticking out that jab, and he has, caught Benavides with a few little sharp counters. As we see there, just as he come out, Duke, he just leaned back and whipped a little nice left hook in, which was a good shot. Benavides still the aggressor, but not getting through with that much that is clean.
Well, in this round so far, McKenzie matching Benavides punch for punch. 2 lefts to the body, 1 to the head, and then a right as well. Watch the use of the head, says the Puerto Rican referee.
McKenzie looks like he's getting a little bit more confident. He's starting the box on the front foot and try and push Benavides back.
Mickey Duff is shouting to Duke McKenzie, it's your turn, it's your turn. Presumably to come forward and start landing more punches. And McKenzie, I think, is having his best round so far here. I don't know whether Benavides is a little bit tight at this weight, 8 stone 10 pounds. Remember, he did have to weigh in twice, and he has fought in spurts, and in this round he definitely has slackened off a bit, and McKenzie's kept up a good rate. Good punch again there from the Duke.
Yes, McKenzie has landed with some nice, crisp, little short shots. Where Benavides, his work is looking, not as good. He's not getting through with anything clean.
Something for McKenzie to cling on to here. Benavides using the old pro's trick of trying to come on strong in the last few seconds of each round, which of course is the last thing the judges remember. McKenzie trying to keep the range, and the bell goes, and for me that was McKenzie's round. McKenzie's round.
Yes, me too. That was a good round, certainly Duke's best round of the fight.
Sharp right in there from McKenzie.
Yes, he did that throughout the round. He just landed with some good, crisp shots as Benavides tried to put the pressure on him.
This is earlier on in the round. And there's McKenzie again with that little left counter.
Yes, Benavides got in with a nice little left uppercut. But McKenzie come out with a good shot of his own. I think he's in a little bit more confidence, and he's starting to let some of his shots go.
Gary Mason and myself both giving that round to Clinton McKenzie. I've got 1 point in it now. Gary Mason saying it 2 points to Benavides, but still plenty to play for out there. Coming out for the 6th round, and Benavides quite significantly there stayed on his stool until the last possible split second before coming out. If he is tight at the weight, it could be the little light at the end of the tunnel that McKenzie's looking for here.
It could be, and it's obvious he's getting more confidence. Duke's starting the rounds well. He's standing up and he's starting to go forward behind his jab.
McKenzie's getting his gloves up quite high and well too, and blocking a few shots. In a technical kind of fight, which this is so far, he's a hard man to beat, McKenzie. He's hard to outbox him.
Yes, he's landing with the crispest shots, and Benavides isn't able to push him back as he was and put more of the work in. He tried there, Benavides, but McKenzie come on, a nice crisp little left hook.
I've only seen him outboxed once, Duke McKenzie. That was by Dave McCauley. He's getting his rhythm together now, McKenzie. And Benavides starts to wear a slightly more troubled mask. That little cocky smile that he came into the ring with and bounced out of the dressing room with isn't there anymore.
That's right, he hasn't got that sort of cockiness about him.
Trying to bustle his way in close on McKenzie, but McKenzie has seen this before, and he'll stand there and he'll counter.
Well, that's got to be Benavides' game. He's got to try and rough Duke up. He's got to try and outwork him. You know, let his strength that he should have at this weight, you know, overpower Duke. But at the minute, Duke's boxing very sharp.
Benavides stepping up the work rate. Tough round to score, this one.
Yes, Benavides has done a little more work. He started to try and punch in the clinches. Last round he didn't do very much, but this round he's doing a lot more. He's not landing cleanly, but he's certainly landing around the body more than Duke is.
I think they're both finding it hard to land cleanly, actually.
It is. There's a bit of a clash of style with the tall man and the shorter man.
Jesse Benavides goes back to the corner for more words from Tony Ayala Sr. He almost quit at one time, did Benavides. He spent so long waiting for a world title chance. That's how Gary Mason and I are seeing it at the moment. Exactly the same, in fact. 59 to 57 to Benavides, though Gary scored that last round a draw. I just gave it to Benavides on a slightly superior work rate, but it's, as I said, a mighty, mighty tough round to score. and there's no guarantee that the judges are seeing it the same way. We must stress that those are just our unofficial ideas of how it might be going. No more than that. It's not written in stone.
And I differ with both of you because I think it's still pretty level.
So we've kind of got our own three unofficial judges going here. We have a split decision, but not yet. 7th round. You'll notice that Mackenzie's got the words written on his shorts, Jessica. That's the name of his little baby daughter. Heads have come quite close together once or twice in this round. In fact, the referee just having a little word about that. McKenzie working well with his jab, and then that was another nice, nifty piece of work from him. This is the rhythm of McKenzie when he really gets going. It was how he performed against Canizales. A little 15-second excerpt there on replay. Now Benavides wants to brawl him up against the ropes. Neither man can really establish a definite ascendancy here.
They can't. Mackenzie does some good work, and then Benavides fights straight back. I think each man is still fighting very hard to get that little bit edge.
You just wonder too if it is quite a tight fight, whether the judges may see it the way of the home fighter. It sometimes happens, shouldn't, but does.
Yes, it's very hard to see how they judge. Sometimes on aggression, sometimes on the home fighter, sometimes on the better boxing.
3 good hooks going in there from Benavides. That was his best work at the round.
He's working hard now to Mackenzie's body. He stepped it up a little bit, Benavides, this round. Not all his shots have landed clearly, but he's been effective trying to push Duke back.
He's a really battle-hardened little champion, Benavides. He's done some good punching to the body in the second half of this round. He tends to do his best work in the second halves of the round. Have you noticed that?
He does. Duke starts very well with his boxing, but Benavides works hard at the end.
Back to the corner they go. Mackenzie did some sharp work in the opening part of the round. Benavides came on strong later on.
Yes, I think Benavides just did a little bit more work, was the aggressor, kept his arms moving, kept trying to bustle Duke out of his stride. So I think he just tipped that round. Here's some of his work here. Good left hook from Duke as Benavides came in, but it couldn't stop him, and he carried on in.
So there we are, 69-66. Gary Mason seeing that round to Benavides as well, and he did get in with some good body shots and 2 or 3 to the head as well in that round. 8th round, again Benavides takes every single second. No prizes for bravado, and it's good professionalism to do that. Now McKenzie, what can he do about it in this 8th round? He's given a pretty good account of himself, but is it going to be enough? Time left yet.
He has, Mackenzie. Certainly Benavides has never took control of this fight yet. I think he maybe is slightly ahead, Benavides, but he's never stamped his authority, and Duke's still in there with a good shout.
Clubbing right round the side of the head, but it looked like with the inside of the glove from Benavides to me. Clubbing right round the side of the head, but it looked like with the inside of the glove from Benavides to me. As Glenn said, the styles not mixing too happily.
No, at times in exchanges like that, neither man can land with any good shots. And I think that's because a good exchange coming here.
Both landing with hooks to the head, neither wanting to give ground. This has been a spirited performance from McKenzie. A lot of people had this down as a formality, really, for Benavides. But he's come back very well from that bad defeat by Del Valle.
I think Benavides came out of that exchange with the better there. He just seemed to hurt Duke with the last shot of the exchange. And he's been chasing after him ever since.
That's a good left hook from McKenzie as well, though. That stopped Benavides for a moment. Benavides, one of 9 children. His parents were born in Mexico. He says he was a bit of a spoiled kid. He wanted everything. He even wanted his brother's birthday presents when it was their birthday. Now he wants to keep his world title. McKenzie is giving him a good argument.
Some good exchanges. This has been probably the best round of the fight.
McKenzie has trained extremely hard for this. He knows that it's probably his last chance at world title level should he fail this test. Bell goes to end the 8th round, and it was a great round, that one.
A very good round, some good exchanges there. I think Benavides just come out of it the better again. These rounds are very close, but I think Benavides might have just stole that one. But Duke's doing some great work, and he's really putting up a good show.
Let's take a look at some of the action from that last round, the 8th, and what action it was.
It looked to be the best work of the fight. They were just trying to look for an opening, rumbling inside, then he came out with some good shots. Benavides landed with good right hands there, but Duke fought all the way.
This is later in the round, the right from McKenzie, then a nice left from him as well. Oh, those were really good punches from McKenzie in that exchange from that angle.
Seconds out, round 9.
9th round. Question is how the 3 judges scoring it. It is one of those fights, really, that is open to different interpretation.
Yes, I think a lot of people will see this fight differently. McKenzie's done some good boxing, caught Benavides some nice sharp counters, but Benavides on the whole has tried to force the fight and be the more aggressor.
That's a nice left hook from Benavides. I must say that there's a better stylishness about McKenzie. He looks the smoother of the two, but there's this kind of brawling relentlessness sometimes about Benavides. And the suspicion is that he packs the heavier, more solid, authoritative punch.
That's right. Well, of the two, I think Benavides has looked the stronger. McKenzie obviously has done the better boxing and the cleaner work, but Benavides has always looked strong, always looked like he maybe he's got a little bit more to offer.
McKenzie, who's shut himself away from his family for the last week or so to try to develop tunnel vision, single-mindedness going into this mission. Awkward style from McKenzie to work out. McKenzie Brings a cheer from the crowd with that left hook of his. Not a noted puncher, Duke McKenzie. Only half of his victories, or only just over half, have come inside the distance.
Benavides again just doing more of the work. Just the more aggressive.
He is, but I think the smarter jabs and the more smoother punches in this round are coming from McKenzie.
The cleaner shots always seem to come through McKenzie. He is a little bit more polished a boxer. But I think the Benavides aggression might tell a little bit more with the judges.
You'll see they're from Canada, Germany and Puerto Rico. As I said before, they sometimes tend to take a more charitable view of the home fighter. Duke's held this together pretty well, though. He's putting up a much better fight than most experts thought he would. Bell goes to end the round. Benavides finished strong, but I think McKenzie's smoother punching might have just nicked that round. Now it's the end of the round.
Again, we've got Benavides storming in, throwing shots from all angles. And he had a good spell there just as the bell went.
He knows when to suddenly turn it on, doesn't he?
He does. He's done that every round. Right at the end of the round, last 20, 30 seconds, he's always put a bust in just to try and catch the judges' eyes.
Well, that's you can't separate those scorecards of myself and Gary Mason. 88 to 85. What about you, Glenn? We all have Benavides leading into the 10th. Duke McKenzie in the green shorts, looking to make history. The first British boxer he'd be for 89 years to win world titles at 3 different weights. As Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank have both won recently at 2 different weights, middle and super middle. And McKenzie's made a good start to this 10th round.
Looking nice and sharp. He's got Benavides on the back foot, and he's landing with some good 1-2s.
Benavides with a sharp right on the counter. Of course, McKenzie has to be a little circumspect. He can't throw caution to the wind, otherwise this man will punish him for it. I think McKenzie and his corner may sense that they do need these last few rounds. Now, has Benavides slowed up a bit? He's not doing very much in this round. And McKenzie is boss there at the moment.
Yes, he's definitely went on the back foot, Benavides. I don't know whether that is just a ploy to try and draw McKenzie in. But I don't think it's working well at the minute. McKenzie's landing with some good shots.
Professional fighters will tell you that when it gets to this stage of a fight, and I've said this before, and I make no apologies for repeating it, it's really who wants it the most.
That's right. In a world title fight, it's all down to who's going to do it. You know, they've got to really go for it if they want to win a title. But Duke so far is doing an excellent performance.
Benavides scoring with a sharp little right there, but nearly all the scoring in this round has come from McKenzie, and he's got him. He's got him. And, well, Benavides suddenly looks a little bit shaky. Now, is this being counted as a knockdown or a slip? It certainly was a knockdown. Now, some coins have been thrown in the ring. I think some people thought that that wasn't counted as a knockdown because the referee certainly didn't make it clear. He didn't appear to administer a count to me. And if he didn't, that is very controversial because it will affect the scoring. He did there. Well, we'll try and get some clarification of that between the rounds from the referee.
It looked like a knockdown. It looked like
Certainly
he definitely
did.
landed with a shot.
We can do without idiots throwing coins in the ring when there are fighters in there as well, as two people did. That was Mackenzie's round. Benavides is trying to go through some ludicrous showmanship to the crowd. I don't know why. He needs the rest, I would have thought. Well, controversy here. Let's have a look at this again, Glenn.
Yeah, he landed with the right hand and then just cuffed with the left at the top of the head. But it was the right hand that did it at the beginning. So the right hand there, he was a little off balance. He had his legs apart, but there was a punch that landed. But nevertheless, that was a very good round for McKenzie.
Please do not throw things into the ring.
I've just had some clarification on that. It was scored a knockdown. That was counted as a knockdown. We've checked that with the referee. So Benavides down. And there is the scorecard now, much, much closer. A 10-8 round for McKenzie because of the knockdown means there's only now a point in it, we think. That's our unofficial view of it, very unofficial. Let's stress that up to the three judges. Just a new idea we've got on Sky Sports to give you some idea of how Gary Mason and I think things are going. But McKenzie definitely had his best round yet, and he'll be lifted by that. This is the 11th.
Well, if McKenzie can keep that sort of work going in, he could certainly take this fight.
He certainly could, because you could argue about a lot of those earlier rounds.
Yes, I think Benavides is probably slightly winning, but there isn't much in it. So with 2 rounds to go, it's all there for McKenzie to go for.
Well, I think if it ends up close and McKenzie's at home, he's got a fair chance of picking up the decision. But we'll see. There are still 1 2/3 rounds to go. Benavides is coming forward. But McKenzie here, yet again, when people were writing him off, has dug deep, shown bags of character and his class as well. And whatever happens now, this has been a fine effort.
Yes, he's put up a marvellous performance. Benavides has picked up this work rate as he's got to. He must have felt that that was a big round, the last one for McKenzie.
But he looks a tired fighter to me now, Benavides.
He does. He's making lots of mistakes.
He's lunging in now rather than
That's right.
throwing.
And there's not a great deal of clean
Shots.
work.
McKenzie's blocking a lot of his shots too on his elbows and arms. There's a nice little right into the head there from Benavides. It's pretty rough old stuff in there now, and they're both having to dig deep. Left uppercut from Benavides was a good shot, so was the short right cross. 2 of them. And McKenzie says, OK, if you want to go to war, I'll do that too.
Yes, over the last few rounds, McKenzie hasn't been afraid to stand and have a fight with Benavides.
Benavides is throwing out a lot of leather in this round.
But McKenzie's managing, he's got his hands tucked in nice, and he's catching an awful lot on the arms.
Oh, left hook from McKenzie in there, but back comes Benavides with the right. This little Texan is now dredging up everything he can in defense of his title. That was a sharp right from him. And although he's tired in this round, he has thrown out a lot, and he might have just nicked that one. What about that,
I
Glenn?
think he certainly did the better of the work, and he replied to McKenzie's good round. He threw lots of shots, and I think he did enough to win that round. McKenzie managed to tuck his hands up and catch a lot of them, but I think just on the sheer volume of punches that Benavides threw, he would have nicked it.
Well, Duke McKenzie, is he 3 minutes away from making history?
And I think he did enough to win that round. McKenzie managed to tuck his hands up and catch a lot of them, but I think just on the sheer volume of punches that Benavides threw, he would have nicked it.
Well, Duke McKenzie, is he 3 minutes away from making history? Benavides, there's that exchange. There was a good left hook in there. You see, it's so hard to score. So much being thrown. How much is being landed? And you need to have hawk eyes, really, to score rounds like this.
It is a very close fight, and it's all going to depend on how the judges see it. There's good punches coming from both men in that round.
Well, that's how Gary Mason and I are seeing it. 106 to 104, and I think Glenn about the same. Yeah, Glenn says about the same. Thumbs up. Last round. So we think McKenzie needs to win this last round, but you can argue about so many of the rounds that don't take that as any kind of gospel. Last round. Benavides, the WBO super bantamweight champion. But is McKenzie about to fashion the end of that reign? Duke, Duke, Duke is the chant now all around the Lewisham Theatre. Intimate little arena, nobody much further than about 30 yards from the ring. Tiered seating as Benavides throws out his hooks now. McKenzie's got to stay with him and outwork him in this last round. It's been a grueling battle.
It's been a very physical fight. A very tough fight for both men, and close throughout. Benavides is trying to rally strong to finish big, but McKenzie's going with him.
Remember, Benavides down in the 10th round. The Texan is coming forward all the time, head down, and just letting go with hooks. And McKenzie's somewhere, a very tired man has got to come up and match him somewhere.
Benavides trying to work hard to the body, just keep his hands moving, try and get them points to secure this last round. McKenzie's fighting back very courageously. He's put up an excellent fight tonight.
He's getting tremendous support here as well. Oh, good left hook in there from Benavides, but McKenzie had a shot of his own in that exchange too. It's been hard for McKenzie to match the work rate of Benavides in this last 2 rounds. Maybe the Americans camper fearing the worst away from home, thinking they won't get the decision in the other fella's backyard. We'll soon find out. "20 seconds to go. McKenzie tripling up on the jab. And McKenzie finishes strongly. This is better work from him right at the end of the round. Probably the most impressive burst that either of them produced in the round there from McKenzie. As there goes the bell to end it. A hug of mutual admiration at the end of 12 battling, grueling rounds. But has McKenzie done enough? Benavides is being lifted up by his camp. McKenzie thinks he's won it. I scored that last round dead level in the end.
Well, a tremendous fight, very, very close. The Raisin Duke of Loughlin, he's won the fight. I think Benavides may well just have tipped it. I think he may have won by a couple of rounds.
That's the unofficial scorecard. That's how myself and Gary Mason see it. We think Benavides just about did it, but if the judges have seen it another way, you'd get no real argument from me, because it was such a tough fight to score. I think everybody at ringside
it was a very tough
is
fight
agreeing
to score
on that. And we now have this anxious wait, where we wait for the scorecards of the 3 judges from Canada, from Germany, and from Puerto Rico. The referee does not score. Benavides looks thoughtful, to say the least, doesn't he? He's probably an experienced enough pro to know that in a tightish fight away from home,
Yes, it can often
might not
go the other
his
way. But usually he is the champion, and they've usually got to take it off the champion well to win the title.
The word at ringside seems to be that this is going to be a split decision. We're hearing unofficially, all unofficial, and they're checking the scorecards now. Now there's somebody saying there are all sorts of chants and misinformation going around, so we're going to ignore that. Let's wait till we hear it officially from our MC, Mike Goodall.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a unanimous decision.
Well, it wasn't split.
Judge Mervold scores 113-115. Judge Vasquez scores 112-115. Judge Davis scores 110-118. The new WBO Super Bantamweight Champion of the World
has made history.
McKenzie!
Well, the Americans' corner are very unhappy about that. There are a lot of shaking heads, and the judge who saw that by 8 points to McKenzie, well, what can I say? He must have been otherwise occupied, I would say.
I think that's exactly what you should say. It was a close fight. We all thought that McKenzie had just been pipped, but some of the rounds were very close, and you can't really argue. It was a great fight, and I'm very proud of Duke.
Well, it's incredible. Duke McKenzie, first man since Bob Fitzsimmons in 1903 to call himself a 3 times British world champion. And against the odds victory from Duke McKenzie. You can argue about the scoring. It was a heck of a difficult fight to score, but the judges have given it unanimously to McKenzie. I wonder what you two Garys in the studio made of that scoring. Back to you, lads. You've got to give it to the Duke, though.